Welcome to Frances Reads her Bible. I'm moving on to Judges chapter 4. And the book of Judges chapter 4 is about the prophetess Deborah and Barak, mainly Deborah. So after Ehud was one of the judges. After Ehud died, the people of Israel sinned against the Lord again. So the Lord let them be conquered by Jabin, a Canaanite king who ruled in the city of Hazor. The commander of his army was Sisera, who lived at Harosheth of the Gentiles. Jabin had 900 iron chariots, and he ruled people of Israel with cruelty and violence for 20 years. Then the people of Israel cried out to the Lord for help. Now Deborah, the wife of Lapidoth, was a prophet, and she was serving as a judge for the Israelites at that time. But okay, in the previous, if you read Judges chapter 3, you'd notice that they've had multiple judges, and after a judge dies, because humans can only live so long, so every generation, once a judge dies, they start worshiping other gods, then they suffer for worshiping other gods, then they cry out to God for help, and then God sends help in the body, as in the form of a judge. Now Deborah is the recent judge, and I'm sure when Deborah dies, the cycle will continue. But it's interesting because if you look all over the book, people will tell you, even in present day church, in some churches, they'll tell you women should not hold positions of, you know, power in churches. You can't be a pastor, you're a woman. You can't be this, you're a woman. God, some will even tell you blatantly that God only relates with men, forgetting that we all, when God said in Genesis chapter 1, let us create man in our own image and our own likeness, he created them male and female, meaning God is male and God is female. That is God's likeness. So how can you now say a woman cannot have the indwelling of the Holy Spirit to be able to lead a church, or to be able to be in a position of power in a church, to say mass, to do this, to do that? Deborah is a woman, not a man. And like I said, I've said in the past, there are so many books that didn't make it into the Bible that we do have, and they are in the Vatican. So who knows which other female, God used in the past. So Deborah would sit under a certain palm tree between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim, and the people of Israel would go there for her decisions. One day she sent for Barak, son of Abinoam, from the city of Kadesh in Naphtali. Naphtali is a tribe, and said to him, the Lord your God of Israel has given you this command. Take 10,000 men from the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun and lead them to Mount Tabor. I will bring Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, to fight you at the Kishon River. He will have his chariots and soldiers, but I will give you victory over him. Then Barak replied, I will go if you go with me, but if you don't go with me, I won't go either. Meaning, he was only going to obey God if Prophet Deborah went with him, or should I say Prophetess Deborah went with him, or should I say Judge Deborah went with him. And if she didn't go with him, he was not going to obey God. Very interesting. I wish somebody would come and tell me, like a very reliable person, man or woman of God, because not everyone who says Father, Father, really serves God. Will come and tell me, Francis, a stranger from nowhere. Let's come, Francis. Call my name, Francis. This is a message I have for you from God. And you now tell the person, no, I'm not going to do it unless you go with me. People in those times were so lucky. That's all I can say. Then she answered, all right, I will go with you. But you won't get any credit for the victory because the Lord will hand Sisera over to a woman. Because, yeah, he refused to obey God. He wasn't going to obey God at all unless the judge, Deborah, went with him. Can you imagine? I won't go unless you go with me. Meaning the word that God had given him, he didn't trust it. He didn't believe it. He was afraid. He doubted it was from God. So God took the glory that would have gone to him and gave it to someone else who was willing to obey him. So Deborah set off, was still going to do the work, but someone else to take the glory for it, as in the main glory. So Deborah set off for Kadesh with Barak. Barak called the tribes of Zebulun. I wish Barak had said then, "Oh, I'm sorry. We merely hear the woman will take the glory, like, or someone else will take the glory for it." No, 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 no. I'll go alone. I trust his God. Anyways, so Deborah set off for Kadesh with Barak. Barak called the tribes of Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh, and 10,000 men followed him. Deborah went with him. In the meantime, Heber the Kenite had set up his tent close to Kadesh, near the oak tree at Zaananim. He had moved away from the other Kenites, descendants of Hobab, the brother-in-law of Moses. When Sisera heard, remember Moses' father-in-law and brother-in-law came to join them. So yeah, so the descendants of Hobab were called Kenites. So when Sisera learned that Barak had gone up to Mount Tabor, he called out his 900 iron chariots. Chariots are um they have horses, so like 9 times 2, like number of horses or more, and all his men, and sends them from Harosheth of the Gentiles to the Kishon River. Then Deborah said to Barak, "Go, the Lord is leading you. Today he has given you victory over Sisera." So Barak only moved because Deborah said go, and she was there. So Barak went down from Mount Tabor with his 10,000 men. When Barak attacked with his army, the Lord threw Sisera into confusion, together with all his chariots and men. Sisera got down from his chariots and fled on foot. Barak pursued the chariots and the army to Harosheth of the Gentiles, and Sisera's whole army was killed. Not a man was left. Interesting. But you see what happened? The king was no longer there. Sisera had fled. He got down from his chariot and fled on foot, because God has already told, Deborah had told um, Barak God's decision. The glory of killing that king was no longer going to be his. It should have been his, but he doubted God. He didn't believe. So God decided to give it to someone else who would be willing to obey him. Let's put it that way. Because in the end, that's the main thing about the battle. Killing the king. That's the honcho, the top dog, the boss, the capone, the president. You can kill 10,000 or 100,000 people from that country, but the person that killed the president that people will remember. That's what I believe. So yeah, the glory had left him. It was no more with him, even though he'd killed practically everybody from that place. So Sisera ran away to the tent of Yael or Yale or Jael. Trying to remember pronunciations of Yale or Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenites, because King Jabin of Hazor was at peace with Heber's family. Jael went out to meet, or Yael went out to meet Sisera and said to him, "Come in, sir," because they know him. "Come into my tent, don't be afraid." So he went in and she hid him behind a curtain. He said to her, "Please give me a drink of water. I'm thirsty." She opened a leather bag of milk, gave him a drink, and hid him again. Then he told her, "Stand at the door of the tent, and if anyone comes and asks you if anyone is here, say no." I'm sure from the next verses we're going to see that God had told Jill or Yael that this man was coming and what to do And she'd agreed to, do it. If not, I doubt God would have sent the king her way and take, and yeah, because Glory was taking, because I, as we've heard or learned, when you refuse to do something God tells you to do, God will choose somebody else to do it. Yeah, God does not need our help. We need God's help. We serve God, not the other way around. I hope I'm making some sense. Yeah. Okay. Something like that. So there are many millions of people on earth. If God gives you an idea, you don't run with it. He'll give it to somebody else for his purpose to be achieved. If God asks you to marry person A and you say, no problem, like clear direction and you reject it, well, we have free will, permissive will. God will let someone else marry the person. And whatever God wanted to achieve through that union will be achieved through someone else. It doesn't mean you've suffered for the one you married, I guess. Anyways, so Sisera was so tired that he fell sound asleep. Then Yale or Jael took a hammer and a tent peg, quietly went up to him and killed him by driving the peg. That peg would be very big, right through the side of his head and into the ground. As I said, it's very big, like very long, from the side of his head into the ground. Imagine how big it was, because it was sound asleep, it was laying down. So when Barak came looking for Sisera, Yale or Jael went out to meet him and said to him, "Come here, I'll show you the man you're looking for." So he went in with her, and there was Sisera on the ground, dead, with the tent peg through his head. That day, God gave the Israelites victory over Jabin, the Canaanite king. They pressed harder and harder against him until they destroyed him. I guess they mean they destroyed the Canaanite king. So yeah, the Israelites were victorious. And I'm sure now that Deborah, a judge, is alive, things will be easy and smooth and sweet for the people. They will obey God, for he saved them. And then when he dies again, a new generation will forget about God. I think another lesson from this is, if you're a Christian, you don't leave just the church to teach your children the ways of God. You give him, if you understand the Bible, share your knowledge, if you know how to fast, teach your kids how to fast, pray to receive the Holy Spirit, to speak in, as in, yeah, fruits and gifts of the Spirit and whatnot. Help them, train them in it, help them build it, something like that. Because I think it's important. That's what I've learned also from this chapter. Obedience to God. If you don't do what God asks you to do, if you doubt, there's always someone else ready and willing, to do it, and will do it. As always, I'm no pastor. Thank you for listening. God bless us all and keep us. Till next time. Bye.